Des Moines, the 402. Welcome to the Nebraska Hawks. These guys are brave. They're Hawkeyes, living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes. They're spreading the Hawkeye hype to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled. Corn Huskers, more like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right, welcome back to the Nebraska Hawks Nest, your Hawkeye oasis located in a Nebraska desert. Now, guys, we're excited today, so take a deep breath. We got a lot to go over here. We're with Sean Roberts today. He's got a big rap sheet of titles. So, all right, sit back, relax, and listen to this. Host and producer for KXNO Morning Rush, host of the Seantourage, Drake men's basketball in-game host, maybe most important Grandview University alumnus, and starting to get a little bit of a beat on the street, Sean, Mr. Des Moines. Like, you're really getting to be a big representative of the city of Des Moines. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Very excited. That's the first time everyone's, like my buddies kind of jokingly, sarcastically call me the voice of Des Moines, which I don't know, but I know it's more of a joke, but I'll take it. But it's going good. I'm excited to hop on here, man.
Everybody, like everything that you have out on social media, I feel like is like should be on like the Des Moines tourism website. It's like a positive beacon of like Drake athletics, KXNO, like always, Bacon Fest. Like I didn't even know that was a thing till you. Like lots of cool stuff. But want to go back. I want to touch real quick too on the whole Grandview University. I took classes there. That place has been injected with steroids over the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, it was a little Cracker Jack box school back when I went there. And it's big, kind of getting big time. It's knocking on the door. What's going on there?
To be honest with you, it's grown so much since I've been there. So I started going there the fall of 2009. And then graduated summer 2012. My last year there is when they came with the L apartments, and that was like the big thing. Like they got these massive apartments where like the juniors and seniors are going to live, and then I left there, and all of a sudden they got buildings and bridges and whatever else they got going on. They redid like 2 or 3 buildings. It's massive. I would say athletics has a lot to do with it, though. Personally, that's what I think it is.
I mean, they're doing it well. I mean, they're doing it well. The campus is beautiful now, and not that it was bad before, but they really hit a niche in Des Moines. I mean, you had Drake. Drake's a wonderful school, like I think one of the best in the Midwest, if not the country. But a lot of kids like that smaller, more intimate campus. Grandview really gave kids another option there. So that was very cool. So we're going to bust in here and talk about a lot of what you do. So I want to talk about the KXNO Morning Rush. So anybody that is listening, when you're in Des Moines, pull it up online to KXNO. The Morning Rush is gotten to be one of my favorite Iowa sports talk shows. You guys really hit on a lot of interesting topics with Iowa sports, and with me being in Nebraska, you guys helped me get that fix out here. I stream it online, and the morning dump I freaking love. Hilarious. I laugh every time I hear that. Tell us everything you do at KXNO, because you're kind of a jack of all trades there.
So I guess we'll start with the bread and butter, the Morning Rush. I'm a producer, host, whatever you want to call me. Producer first, though, for sure. That's pretty much what I do on that show. And then I host the Saturday morning pregame, and the Saturday morning pregame came along a few years ago. We were looking to kind of make it almost like a minor leagues type deal in a sense, where it's like, hey, this is the future of our station. We want them to start getting reps as far as hosting live shows on the station.
That's cool.
But also, it was also to kind of keep us happy, right? Like, because at that point, I had been there for 5-6 years, and it was like, okay, where's this going? What am I doing here? My vision is I want to be a host. I feel like I've worked hard enough to at least get that opportunity, and so it came together, and we've been doing it three years now. We just had our best ratings ever in the last fall book for it, and so the show keeps growing and it's getting better, and it's definitely something. Come football season, it's definitely something that we love, that people, when they're driving to Iowa City or they're driving to Ames or wherever they are in the state of Iowa, it grows. So I do that, and then kind of just whatever needs. Sometimes I'll work a wild game, an Iowa wild game, where I'll just produce that back in the studio. Someone needs a fill-in host somewhere. If I'm available, I do that. That's pretty much what I do for the station.
Yeah, we were. I went out to be on the Murph and Andy show the week of the Nebraska-Iowa football game, and I think that's really where I kind of stumbled upon hearing about you guys being around those studios. And I'm really glad that I did, because it's become one of my go-to shows to really find out, the beat of what's going on with Northern Iowa, Drake, a lot of the schools that you don't hear about, especially out here in Nebraska. So the Morning Rush, KXNO, you guys look it up if you get a chance. It's a really good show. Now, not that you're not busy enough with that. I mean, there's a million other things, plus a full-time job, I believe, too, that we're not even really going to cover. I mean, I hope that, your girlfriend must be the most patient, caring person on the planet. All right.
She's amazing.
The Seantourage. There's a lot that goes into this. Gear, a podcast. Walk us through that, because that seems like you got a really cool thing going. And I was blown away how many different styles and options for gear that you guys have online.
Yeah. So it started as so I'm a very loyal person, right? And I always wanted to, when I was able to do stuff, like we get the opportunity working at the radio station to do a lot of cool things, whether it's being able to play broom ball at an Iowa Wild game in between periods, whether we get tickets to go to something or whatever the case is. I always wanted to bring my good buddies along, and guys that I played with at Grandview, and guys that I feel like I owe some of my career to, because without them I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So they just I'd always invite them to things. And one day, jokingly, we were talking about, there was an event coming up, and we were talking about this on the Morning Rush, and she's like, are you going to bring your entourage around? And I was like, oh yeah, go probably bring the boys. And she goes, it's not even an entourage, it's a Seantourage.
That's great.
And I thought about it. It was funny, and it worked, and it flowed, and and for a while my buddies hated it. They're like, we're your friends, we're not like this whole group thing, right? Well,
it's like Dave Matthews Band, like he gets all the glory, and they're just
right,
like this.
Right. But and so my buddy Jose, my buddy Pistol, I wanted to start a podcast, and it wasn't really to make money, it wasn't to try and gain followers or anything like that. I really wanted to start it because I wanted to practice hosting. And this was before I had the Saturday morning pregame, and we originally called it the 23/7 podcast. Reason being, I wore number 23, my buddy Jose wore number 7, and you're taking an hour out of your 24/7 schedule.
Hey, that's clever. I like that.
To listen to us, right? And so we were doing it, and it was going well. We were interviewing people, and we actually recorded it in the KXNO studios every week, and so I was lucky to where we were able to use that. And it was on the iHeart app and all that, and it was a lot of fun. And then we actually brought in Brooks Reynolds, he runs Bacon Fest here in Des Moines, and Teddy Holly, who runs a couple of the bars here in Des Moines, and we brought them in for an interview. Like, we were going to interview them because Bacon Fest was coming up, and it was going to be a whole thing. Well, they had so much fun doing it that we ended up doing an event out at Beer Can Alley, which is Teddy Teddy's bar, and he gave us like 3 nights. Thursday, it was during college basketball, March Madness. He's like, I'll give you 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Pack your VIP section, and let's see what like we'll talk Sunday. Pretty much like, what can you guys bring to the table? Well,
all right.
We like threw like the 3 biggest nights of a party you could ever have.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And it wasn't like we were sitting there doing anything crazy. It was just we were able to host people getting together, right? And from there, about a month later, me, Pistol, and Jose sat there, and we were like, maybe this is bigger than we think, and maybe we should try and let's talk to Teddy. And we ended up becoming business partners, and we launched. He said, here's the thing, I'm all for this, and let's do the podcast. He goes, but you got to change it to the Seantourage show.
Ooh, yeah. All right.
And that's when the boys started finally to believe, like, okay, you know what? There's a chance for us to make money. Like, let's do it. And so it became a thing, and we started doing the podcast. And some odd way, SUP became like my saying. I don't know why. It just kind of like sarcastically happened, and then like it stuck. It's like the same thing as like Seantourage. Like it sarcastically happened, and then it stuck. Yeah. And so I came up with the idea last year that I was like, how about we do a merch line, and it just says SUP Iowa City, SUP England, and we do it in the college colors and see what happens. And we sold I don't know if can I swear on here?
Yeah. We
sold a shit ton. And and it was really cool to see, and it was awesome. And then, you know, I was emceeing at Drake, and I started saying SUP Nap Center to introduce the team onto the court, and it's just kind of became the thing. So yeah, and as far as the merch goes, that's how that happened.
Okay. That's cool though. That's a cool backstory. One of my all-time favorite shows is Entourage. So that has a little bit of flair to it. So tell me you watched that show, because
Entourage is it's a top 3 show for me of all time, and I've watched it probably over I can't even count how many times I've rewatched the series. And so the first time so going back to that beer canale party, right? Well, Brooks was like, we want to make this huge. So he bought a Snapchat filter for the weekend.
Okay.
And it said Seantourage, but it was spelled out like in the Entourage letters. Right?
That's
and
cool.
And so the entire weekend in Des Moines, you could use that Snapchat filter. And then we were like, okay, that's great for like the weekend for Snapchat, but we don't want to get sued, so let's not use them if we're gonna start trying to make money, you know. So we came up with our different logo, and but yeah, that's the podcast.
So my buddy and I, that's like where we've got our most vulgar catchphrases from Ari Gold that we still use to this day. That I cannot probably say, but you know where I'm going with that. I think it's one of the greatest shows, if not the greatest guys show of all time. It's
for sure.
It's freaking awesome. I used to look so forward to that show, and when it stopped, it about killed me. So, and you also guys do the Ball Don't Lie, kind of a sports gambling show, which I think is very cool. We have a group of guys we do. It's called like the Swarm, the 402 show, a podcast where we do it about, you know, college football games, and we pick them. And so like the guy that won, our buddy Matt, we call him the Miller Lite Delight. He's a big Miller Lite fan. He, I think he got like 67% of the games right for the year, and that was the best. So tell us a little bit about the Ball Don't Like sports gambling show and what you guys do on there.
Yeah, so that podcast is with Teddy, who I just mentioned, and a guy by the name of Justin Smool. And Justin's background. So Justin's grew up with Teddy and one of his best friends. Well, Justin's is a golf pro, and he also lived in Vegas for a while, and is kind of like a professional gambler. And so he was moving back to Iowa at the same time that Teddy wanted to do this podcast. And so we're like, well, let's, you know, you guys do it and kill it, and let's just see what happens, right? We had just linked a deal with Wild Rose Casino out in Jefferson, and it was like the perfect timing because like now we have a gambling podcast, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, but the key to making it work is like if we're going to be serious about it, someone like we need to start off hot, right? So Smule started off his college football season last year, 19-1.
Wow.
And that there was all systems go from there.
Man.
And then, you know, so they do a gambling podcast throughout the entire football season. So they'll be off until next August, September. But they do college football, NFL, and then they post all their picks. They don't hide anything or anything like that. So they do the podcast. And the reason for the podcast, because you can just, I mean, honestly, what they can do is probably just put out their picks, right? But what they do with the podcast, they break down the games. They break down why they're leaning this way, if they've heard any research on things, because these two are phenomenal gamblers. I wish I could, I listen to them on some things, but then I get stubborn and I'm like, I'm going to go my own way on this. And then I, realize that I'm an idiot. So
you're a slow learner like I am. Right. I'm the same way.
You know what my problem is Teddy and Smule bet with their brains. I bet with my heart and feel. And that's just, it's not good.
No, we have Kyle Schlicker on all the time as a former kicker at Iowa. He doesn't go with his brain at all. He's like, I hate Michigan. He bets against them every single time, things like that. So it's pretty funny, but that, that's cool to hear, Sean, that, you have these friends and you have these, the loyalty and the close relationship, because that kind of stuff is like, that's hard to find anymore.
Yeah.
I can tell you from a guy that's 40, we used to have a lot of close friends, and it's just like as the years go by, people just kind of fall by the wayside. So that is very cool. So hold on to that, because that's a rarity anymore to be able to have a close group of friends like that. So that's awesome. I want you to tell us too about, you're known for your White Sox fandom. You're living in a Cubs town right now, and everybody there loves the Cubs. Maybe if some Cardinals fans, some few Twins fans. I don't think there's a whole lot of White Sox fans. I'm a Sox fan too. I don't like the Cubs at all. Tell us about how you became a White Sox fan, and if you get a lot of grief living in Des Moines wearing that hat.
So the funny thing is I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I've been living in a Cubs town my entire life, and like growing up, so the backstory kind of behind this was, so my dad's from New Jersey, and he grew up a Mets fan.
Okay.
And so he grew up a Mets fan. Sports Center wasn't, so he ended up going into the Navy, and he got sent to Great Lakes for boot camp, and then met my mom, and then stayed. Well, back in the late 80s, or mid 80s, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't Sports Center. I mean, ESPN was around, but it wasn't like it was hard for him to keep up with the Mets. Well, growing up a Mets fan, he hated the Cubs because they used to have a huge rivalry.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll be damned if I'm going to root for the Cubs. So he kind of adopted the White Sox as his second team, and turned into his first team. But when I was born, it was very like, well, I don't care if he's a Mets or Sox fan, but he will not be a Cub fan type thing. And I have pictures of me when I was 2 years old, 2 years old with a Sox hat on and the whole getup, and I've been obsessed with them my entire life. Like I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan. I'm a New York Giants fan, but that comes from my dad being from Jersey.
Okay.
But man, the White Sox are life. And
I have a very politically incorrect opinion about that whole thing, and I'm just going to say it, is the more, the older I've gotten and the more I learned, because growing up in Des Moines, I kind of like I flirted with being a Cubs fan for a while. You got the Iowa Cubs there, you have all that influence. And the more I learned about it is White Sox fans are the real baseball fans. A lot of the Cubs fans they're doing it because it's cool. And because it's pop culture type of things, like any girl that doesn't know anything about sports, so I'm going to get a Cubs shirt and be a Cubs fan. Not all of them are like that. I'm generalizing here, but Sean, do you agree with that statement? Or are you going to stay down the middle and stay neutral?
No, I'm 100% with you. I've lived it. I've watched it my whole life.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to sit there and say all Cub fans are like that, because I know Cub fans that are diehards that know just as much about the Cubs as I know about the White Sox, right? But there's a percentage that are just there because it's the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Which is why White Sox fans are the way White Sox fans are towards them. But
And that's why I love it.
dealing with that here in Des Moines, it's I love it because I do have a voice, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people have DM'd me, called into the show, but didn't go on the air. It was like, keep talking White Sox. We're here for it. We're here for it. And I would say last summer it really kicked off, but my girlfriend and I would be out, going to farmer's market or whatever the case is. And I seen more Sox jerseys and Sox hat. Now it helps that they were good, right? But
Yeah.
I've seen more Sox stuff and walking around Des Moines than I've ever had my entire life. And I always sarcastically tweet out, just saw, 6 people with Sox hats on while I was at the farmer's market. The movement's here. Like I keep, wanting to be that like voice for not only Des Moines, but the state of Iowa. Like there are Sox fans here. There are a lot of them. And we can walk out of we can come out of the shadows now and be proud.
Oh, dude, I love it. That's exactly what we're doing here with the Hawkeyes in Nebraska. So,
right, yep.
Yeah, same type of thing. So, I love that you're doing that, though. Getting the White Sox fans more comfortable, able to come out, banding people together. That's what we're trying to do here too. So, I can totally appreciate that, Sean. That's awesome. Bring us into a little bit about working with Drake University, because I'm a Des Moines guy, grew up on the south side of Des Moines, and I've always loved Drake basketball. Used to go to games all the time as a kid, played in Drake Summer League, got to see a lot of fun games. They weren't so great though when I was going. They're a lot better now than they were when I was growing up. We got Matt Gatens and Darren DeVries now. Tell us about those two guys. Gatens being a former Hawkeye, and Coach DeVries really, he was at Creighton for a long time. You don't see coaches like that be that patient and wait. He knew where he wanted to go. He knew, he had a vision and he stuck to it. He stayed patient. What are your thoughts on those two guys as coaches? And I got more questions about them because I love that coaching staff.
I think they're both great. I know Darren a lot more, I guess, because we've interviewed him and I've just kind of built a relationship with him. Darren's a great guy, and you're 100%, like he was the guy. Like he was the guy that needed that job, that wanted that job. And that's the thing is, you gotta, when you're talking Missouri Valley, you have to have guys that want to be there. Like it's not, some guys can use it as a stepping stone, and guys like Nico Medved did, right? Like Nico was there for a year and then pieced, but some guys are just built for it, right? They're built to be they can be better than a Valley coach, but they want to be a Valley coach, and I think Darren is that guy, man, and it's amazing what he's done with that program. I've been a part of the program now for 3 years, and it's been a hell of a ride, and I've had so much fun doing it. But Darren he's Drake basketball, man. Like he's it.
Yeah. There's not a better fit out there than him. And I'm really hoping that he, is seeing some, I'm an idiot. I live out here in Nebraska, but I got a vision. Mark Few did it at Gonzaga. What was Gonzaga really before Mark Few got there? Not much. Wichita State, built their program up through the Missouri Valley. Do you think that, and I think it could be different with him. This doesn't feel like a stepping stone job for Coach DeVries.
I think it helps now that Tucker's there. I think having Tucker there for at least now 3 more years is going to help keep him there. I don't see him moving. I don't see Tucker moving. I think they're I know nothing. Like I could be in 2 weeks from now, something can change, but I think they're there, at Drake for a while. And he just secured his, I think, 4th year in a row of 20 plus wins, which is wild, and from when it's crazy the ride. Like when I started, I've been on KXNO now since 2014. So 7 years. And the first 3 years were Drake is awful. Like I had the worst impression of Drake basketball, right? Like just like the worst. And Darren's first year was awesome, and then the second year is when I came on board in 2019, and it was they've been phenomenal.
It's been shown that it can be done there. It's just when it gets done, guys usually leave. So hopefully we can keep him around, keep building that program. And you know, the way that college basketball's set up, it's not like football. He can get into the tournament every year and make a crazy run. You know, you
Yep.
never know. What do you feel like with the transfer portal? Do you feel like that's helped Drake, or is that becoming more of a hindrance for schools in the Missouri Valley, like mid-majors like that?
It's funny, like the two guys, the two biggest names, Joe Yesufu and Leon Robbins, were there. They transferred out to bigger and better things. At least thought so. At least
Yeah.
You can't stop it from happening, right? Like guys you go on a run like Joe Yesufu did last year, who was a backup. People forget that he was a backup behind Roman Penn. Roman Penn got hurt. Joe Yesufu started getting more minutes and then went on a 3-week run where he was like one of the hottest players in the country. You know, and so he capitalized on that, you know, and it's funny to watch because he really hasn't gotten the minutes this year at Kansas where he transferred to, except for when they played Iowa State a few weeks ago, and he had his best game as a Jayhawk, which is just funny because we all kind of sarcastically joked like, oh, how many minutes is Joe going to get tonight? Like 1 or 2, you know, and then he goes off and has just a phenomenal evening, which is great for him. Leon Robbins, he transferred to Minnesota. Then I forgot that he was at Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt now.
Vanderbilt, yeah. So, but that's a guy, Leon Robbins, if he would have been like, and this is a guy, he didn't have a scholarship.
Yeah.
He didn't have a scholarship. Darren was the only one that believed in him, was there for a year, had a great season, and then pieced. And the thing, man, like that's a dude that he could be up for Missouri Valley Player of the Year if he would have stayed.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here going, he's on Vanderbilt, right? Like that's the team he's on. So I don't know. I'm not going to say it helps them, or I'm not going to say it hurts them, but I think because they've benefited from it too.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I'm in between on it, I guess.
So I don't know if you've ever heard this, and this could be completely out of left field, but with schools like DePaul and Creighton, you know, moving over to the Big East, with Creighton having some success, have you ever heard any grumblings in Des Moines ever about Drake potentially ever going to the Big East?
No, everything that it's Valley. It's all Valley. It's all Valley.
Good.
So yeah, I haven't heard anything like that, and I don't think personally, I don't think it would be smart for them to leave the Valley. I like them in the Valley. I think that's where they need to be.
The games are a lot more fun, you know, like out here, like Creighton's playing teams that are halfway across the country every time in conference. And it's like Drake's playing a lot of those Midwest teams that are similar size. So it's a lot easier to get excited for those conference rivalries when, you know, you can actually go to the game and drive to the game and not have to fly across the country.
I can tell you, and I have, you know, up until 3 years ago, I had no affiliation to Drake University. Like I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I went to Grandview, right? And I cover Iowa and Iowa State, and I knew a little bit about UNI because of their NCAA tournament runs, but Drake wasn't a thing. And after I got the call that they were interested in me doing like the MC and an in-game hosting. I thought it was a great fit because I liked what they were building. I liked what Darren did his first year. They make you want to be a part of it, right? And I wanted to help with that. And so me being there now and being able to see these teams and seeing you talk about rivalries, like Loyola coming to town. Now, obviously they're leaving, but UNI, like the UNI game, you got 7,000 people in the Knapp Center. The place is going nuts. It's up for grabs every time there's a basket made. Yeah. That's an environment that it's awesome. And you don't get that at a lot of places.
No, that's like a really underrated rivalry, that Drake UNI. I mean, that was it on? I think it was on ESPN too, and I watched that. That was a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of good basketball being played there. Right now, we got Drake. They're 4th in the Missouri Valley as of today. You watch a lot of sports, Sean. You know sports really well. Do you feel like Drake's going to be a team that's going to get into the tournament, get into the field, and do you see them being able to catch fire and make a run?
They got to win the Valley tournament. That's their only way in. You know, I don't – right now you look at the Missouri Valley, it's a 5-team race. And I put 5 because Bradley is a team that if they're clicking, man, it's really tough to beat them. And that's what worries me about where Drake lines up right now, because it's looking like they're going to line up as the 4 seed. Barring anything happening. Well, Drake has matched up awful with Bradley this year. Bradley has swept him twice, or swept him throughout the season. And just it's a height and length thing. Drake doesn't have a lot of height and length, and Bradley's filled with it.
Okay.
And the unfortunate thing for Drake is they've also shot the lights out the 2 times they've played. Because you're going to look at Bradley's record, and you're going, wait, what's happening? How?
Yeah.
They being on the court with those guys, I've seen it. They're huge.
Yeah.
They're huge. And Drake just doesn't match up well with that. Anybody else in the conference, Loyola, UNI, Missouri State, Drake can go toe-to-toe with any of those guys and beat them on any given day. Bradley, I know Drake can beat Bradley. It just depends on a couple things. So that first round game makes me nervous. But if Drake if they can win that Missouri Valley tournament, I don't see why they can't make a little bit of noise in the tournament. Like, last year they won that game, and then they ended up playing USC, which wasn't fun for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But they can do it.
Yeah. All right, Sean, with the t-shirt, we had a little pre-show conversation. You're a wrestling fan, as am I. All you pro wrestling haters, we don't hear from you right now. This is a little wrestling talk. So what are your thoughts right now on, pro wrestling? If you're a pro wrestling fan, this is a great time to be alive. I mean, you got wrestling on every single night of the week. You got Impact, you got AEW, you got WWE. What are you watching right now, Sean? Like, what's your favorite promotion right now?
God, what's funny is there was a while where I got out of the wrestling game. Like I go through, I think as I've gotten older, I go through phases, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I'm always very loyal to WWE. It's very hard for me to get away from WWE, and I think it's just strictly because that's, I remember growing up, and I was telling you before, like I just went back and rewatched the Monday Night Wars 20 episode documentary that they have.
So good. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
And I remember when all that was going down, I was in 3rd and 4th grade, and you go to school and are you a DX guy or are you an NWO guy? And it was like gang stuff happening, in the hallways.
Oh yeah.
But I was, what's funny is I was an NWO guy.
Yeah.
Like that's before I claimed myself probably more as a WWE person.
Yeah.
And because I loved what it was about. I loved the NWO. I loved Hogan. I loved Hall and Nash.
Me too.
And about a year into that, when they started having what ended up being the downfall of NWO and WCW, is all these guys started joining. And I was like, okay, well, let me click over and see and then you got Stone Cold smashing beers, and you got The Rock and DX, and I was like, okay, this is a much better product. This is where I want to be. And I stopped watching WCW, and I went to Monday Night Raw, and rewatching that documentary, it's brought back so many memories, and now I'm sitting here watching, I'm watching WWE Network again, and I know what's happening, like I'm getting amped back up to be able to watch wrestling again.
WCW just became a mess. Like they let all the guys have creative control, so it's like the whole roster joins the NWO, and it was just like, okay,
and all these guys they didn't care. Like if it wasn't them winning the belt, then they were like, well, no, now we're putting in our creative control. We want to win the belt, and it was like, they ruined it.
It did. They really did ruin a good thing there. So, Sean, I need to ask you this, being a wrestling fan. Okay, you're getting to live your dream. You're lacing up the boots. You're a pro wrestler. It's Survivor Series. You can only pick 3 partners and have a traditional Survivor Series match. 3 wrestlers of all time, any generation. Who are you taking to battle with you?
Stone Cold.
Okay.
Mick Foley.
Ooh, all right.
God, I would have to. The third one's I want probably Undertaker. Honestly.
Undertaker. Okay. I mean, that's a heavy attitude era team right there. That's
three of the best. That was my wrestling, man. That was I love me some Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins.
Yeah. Iowa guy.
Yeah. I've never been a Brock Lesnar dude. Not a fan of him.
No, I like what he's doing right now better than anything he's ever done, though.
Yeah.
He's more entertaining now, though. Who's your favorite guy right now that you enjoy watching the most in the current product that you get excited to watch wrestle?
Oh man, I would probably be Seth, honestly, because like that's a dude. He's an Iowa guy. I've seen him in the radio station before. Like I was a while back. I produced an interview with AJ Styles. That was pretty cool. But no,
that's cool.
I would say Seth is probably the dude.
Okay. I've been big on the AEW train lately. I just got so much over the years. I got so frustrated with the booking and the stuff with Vince that I'm like, finally when AEW came up, I'm like, all right, I'm cutting the cord right now.
Something fresh.
I was a disgruntled fan, so
yeah,
I was ready to.
We got Monday Night Wars all over again now.
Yeah, yep, just on different nights. So it's good stuff. All right. I know you're a busy guy, got a million things going on, but we are going to end with one question to really make you think here. Okay. Being Mr. Des Moines, I really want to know this. I'm coming back. I'm a Des Moines guy, so I'm rolling into town. I don't really know what's going on, where the place to go is now. I'm totally out of touch. But your friend Adam's rolling into town, gives you a call. He's like, Sean, get the Seantourage together. We're going out. We're gonna have some drinks. Where are we going? What are we drinking?
We're going out on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you to I'll take you to Beer Can Alley.
Okay.
We'll sit in the Seantourage VIP section.
All right.
We're gonna get a crap ton of beer.
All right.
I'm a Miller Lite guy, but we'll get you whatever you want.
All right.
I'm a big great taste, less filling dude.
All right.
And then depending on who's there, we'll get Brooks Reynolds. That means great bombs are going to be a thing. So get ready for some bombs. If Teddy's there, we're doing tequila shots. And then, it'll be a night on the town at Beer Can Alley. And then we'll wake up in the morning. We'll go to Breakfast Club.
Oh, all right. I'm going to have to give you a shout out next time I'm in town and meet up for a drink. Sean, I would love watching what you're doing on social media. You can tell you're just having an absolute freaking blast. And it honestly, from an outside perspective, you really just put out such a positive energy and a great vibe. And that pulls people to you. People want to see that and they want to be a part of it. And, I could tell you from a distance, it's cool. It's cool to see. The Morning Rush is a freaking awesome show. I love it. Tell everybody there, keep up the great work, man. You keep killing it in Des Moines. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, man, to come on and talk to us.
Yeah, anytime, man. I love doing stuff like this. I love supporting guys that just want to do a podcast and talk and get to know each other and do something cool and be creative. It's awesome to see, and I'll support that any day of the week.
Awesome.
So, all right. Thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Sean. We'll see you, man.
Yep.